story. Months passed. Sonia threw herself into her work. She decided to upgrade her approach. Instead of trekking around selling to individuals, she started targeting corporate clients, banks, hotels, big companies. It was working. Her sales were improving. One afternoon, she had a meeting with a bank manager at a fancy restaurant in Victoria Island. The manager wanted to order skincare products in bulk for their female staff as part of a wellness package. Sonia arrived early, dressed in her best outfit, carrying her product catalog and samples. She sat at a table near the window, rehearsing her pitch in her head. Then she looked up, and her world stopped. Across the restaurant, at a corner table, sat Paul and Tenny. They were laughing, feeding each other. His hand was on hers. Sonia blinked, thinking she was hallucinating. But no, it was them, her boyfriend, her best friend. Together, her heart pounded so loud, she could hear it in her ears. She stood up slowly, her legs shaking, and walked toward their table. Paul saw her first. He didn't even flinch. He just smirked and said, loud enough for her to hear, "Oh, it's the poor proud girl." Tenny's face went pale. She looked like the ground was about to swallow her. "Sonia, But Sonia didn't say a word. She just stood there for a moment, staring at them both. Then she turned around and walked back to her table. Her hands were shaking as she sat down. Her vision was blurry, but she didn't cry. Not there, not in front of them. The bank manager arrived a few minutes later, and somehow, Sonia pulled herself together and did her presentation. She closed the deal, 800,000 naira worth of products, but she felt nothing. That night, Tenny came home. Sonia was sitting on the bed, staring at the wall. "Sonia, I'm so sorry," Tenny started, her voice shaking. "I thought you didn't need him anymore. That's why, we just started talking. It just happened. And he's such a nice guy. I really don't see anything wrong with him." Sonia turned to look at her. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "I'm not angry at you, Tenny. I'm not angry at you, but at least if you liked him, you should have told me. We cannot, because of a man that we just met a few months ago, break up the friendship that we have had over the years. We've known each other since secondary school. If he's the one that your heart chooses, no problem. For me, my heart did not agree with him, so I'm not even angry. In fact, I feel free." Tenny stared at her, surprised. You're not angry?" "No, but the air between them had changed. Trust was broken, and they both knew it. That evening, Tenny packed her bags. "My man said the mainland is too far from the island. He said I should move in with him. He wants to be closer to me." Sonia watched her pack in silence. "Is that what you really want to do?" Sonia asked quietly. Tenny nodded. "Yes." Sonia took a deep breath. "Okay, no problem. Take care of yourself." And just like that, Tenny left. Sonia sat alone in the apartment that night, staring at the empty space where Tenny's bed used to be. She didn't cry. She just felt numb. From that day, Tenny's life changed completely. She moved into Paul's mansion on the island and cut off every single one of her old friends. She stopped responding to messages. She stopped calling people back. The only time anyone heard from her was through social media. And oh, her social media was loud every day. It was a new post. Tenny in Paris, Tenny in London, Tenny in Dubai, Tenny wearing wigs that could buy someone a plot of land, Tenny carrying bags that cost more than some people's yearly salary, Tenny in expensive restaurants, Tenny at the spa, Tenny living her best life. The captions were always the same energy. God is good, blessed and highly favored, living my dream life, People who knew her from before would comment, "Wow, Tenny, you're glowing." God, when? "This is what we call upgrade." Tenny would reply with heart emojis and amen. But she never mentioned Sonia, not once. Sonia saw all the posts. She didn't unfollow Tenny. She didn't block her. She just watched quietly. Sometimes late at night, she'd wonder if she'd made a mistake. If maybe she should have tried harder with Paul. If maybe she'd thrown away her chance at a better life. But then she'd remember the insults, the shouting, the controlling behavior, the way he made her feel small. And she'd remind herself, money is good, but peace of mind is priceless. 2 months after Tenny moved in with Paul, Sonia was scrolling through Instagram when she saw it. A post from Tenny. It was a picture of her hand, adorned with a massive diamond ring that could blind someone from across the room. The caption read, "He asked. I said yes, marrying the love of my life. God is faithful." Sonia stared at the post for a long time. She felt nothing. No jealousy, no anger, just a strange emptiness. So it's happening. She's really marrying him. Sonia thought maybe, just maybe, Tenny would reach out. Maybe send a private message. Maybe even send a wedding invitation. After all, they'd been friends for over 10 years. They'd shared dreams. They'd shared struggles. They'd shared everything. Surely Tenny wouldn't get married without at least telling her. But weeks went by. The wedding preparations were all over social media. Tenny posted pictures of her bridal shower, her dress fittings, her makeup trials, the venue, an insanely expensive hotel in Lekki. Sonia watched it all unfold online like everyone else. No message, no call, no invitation. Then the wedding day came. It was the talk of Lagos, a lavish, extravagant, over-the-top society wedding. They brought in top musicians. The decor was straight out of a magazine. Celebrities attended. Even Vogue Africa covered the wedding. Sonia saw all the pictures online. Tenny looked beautiful, like a princess. Paul looked like Paul, smiling, confident, victorious. Sonia sat in a small apartment that day, eating rice and stew, scrolling through the wedding photos. She felt a pang in her chest, not because she wanted Paul, but because she'd lost her friend. A few weeks after the wedding, Sonia received a message. It was from Tenny. "Hi Sonia, I'm sorry I didn't invite you to the wedding. You know the situation between us now. My man would have been very uncomfortable to see you at our wedding. That's why I didn't invite you. I hope you're not angry." Sonia read the message 3 times. Then she typed back, "My sister, I'm not angry. It's your wedding. You invite whoever you want to invite. I hope you had a blessed day. I hope you enjoyed your day. Take care of yourself." Short, polite. Final. Tenny read the message but didn't reply. And that was it. Their conversation was cut short. Sonia deleted the chat and went back to her life. For the first few weeks of marriage, Tenny was in heaven. Paul took her to the Maldives for their honeymoon. White sand beaches, clear blue water, 5-star resorts, private villas, room service, spa treatments. Tenny posted everything online. Every meal, every sunset, every moment. "Honeymoon vibes with my king. This is what dreams are made of. I'm the luckiest woman alive." But when they returned to Lagos, reality began to creep in. One evening, just a month after the wedding, Paul came home and made an announcement. "Tenny, I fired the house help." Tenny looked up from her phone, confused. Why? Did she do something wrong? "I don't want strangers in my house anymore. You're my wife now. You can handle things." Tenny blinked. Handle things? Like cooking and cleaning? Yes. What's the problem? You're my wife. That's your job. Tenny laughed nervously. But Paul, we have a big house and we used to order food from restaurants. I don't want to eat outside food anymore. Paul interrupted, his tone firm. I want you to cook for me. You're my wife. I want fresh, homemade meals every day. Tenny opened her mouth to argue, but something in Paul's eyes made her stop. His mother said he was a special child. She reminded herself, what is cooking that I cannot cook? Okay, she said quietly, I'll cook. Paul smiled and kissed her forehead. That's my good wife. At first, Tenny didn't mind. She'd cook breakfast, clean the house, do the laundry, go to Paul's mother's house to help with errands. It was tiring, but she told herself it was part of being a wife. This was what marriage looked like. But then Paul fired the second house help, then the third, then the gardener, then the driver. One by one, everyone was let go until it was just Tenny, alone, doing everything. She'd wake up at 4 a.m. to mop the entire house because Paul was a neat freak. He couldn't stand even a speck of dust. She'd cook breakfast, then lunch, then dinner, fresh meals every single day. She'd wash his clothes by hand because Paul said the washing machine made his expensive shirts rough. She'd iron every shirt perfectly because if there was even a tiny crease, Paul would throw it back at her and tell her to do it again. By month 3, Tenny was exhausted. Her body ached. Her hands were rough from washing. Her back hurt from bending over to clean. But whenever she tried to complain, Paul would get angry. What have you been doing all day? Sleeping like a cow? This is your job. This is what wives do. And his mother, oh, his mother was even worse. She'd call Tenny almost every day. My son told me you haven't been taking care of him properly. Why are you being lazy? What are you doing in that house? You need to treat my son like a king. He's a special child. You need to cater to his every need. Tenny wanted to scream. Special child, your son is a grown man. But she kept quiet. She told herself it would get better. Once I get pregnant, things will change, she thought. Once we have a baby, he'll soften. He'll be different. But month 4 came, then month 5, then month 6, and things only got worse. One evening, Paul came home from work angry. Tenny could tell from the way he slammed the door, the way he threw his car keys on the table, the way his jaw was clenched. Welcome home, honey, Tenny said carefully, trying to sound cheerful. Dinner is almost ready. I made your favorite, jollof rice. And I don't want jollof rice, Paul snapped. Tenny blinked. Oh, okay. What do you want? I can make something else. I told you this morning I wanted vegetable soup. Did you make it? Tenny's heart sank. You? You didn't tell me that this morning. You said, don't lie to me, Paul shouted, his voice echoing through the house. Tenny flinched. I'm not lying. You didn't. So now you're calling me a liar? No, I'm just saying. You know what? Paul walked toward her, his face twisted with anger. You're useless. Completely useless. I don't know why I married you. Tears stung Tenny's eyes. Paul, please. I'm trying my best. Your best? Your best is trash. And then it happened. Paul raised his hand and slapped her across the face. The sound echoed in the room. Tenny stumbled backward, her hand flying to her cheek, her eyes wide with shock. Paul stared at her for a moment, breathing heavily. Then he turned and walked to his study, slamming the door behind him. Tenny stood there, frozen, her cheek burning, tears streaming down her face. Did that just happen? Did it just hit me? She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. She wanted to call someone. But who would she call? She'd cut off all her friends. She'd burned all her bridges. She was alone. That night, Tenny cried herself to sleep on the couch. The next morning, Paul came out of the bedroom with flowers and a sad expression. "Baby, I'm so sorry," he said, kneeling in front of her. "I don't know what came over me. I was just so stressed from work. Please forgive me. It will never happen again, I promise." He handed her the flowers. Then he transferred 1 million naira to her account. "Go shopping. Buy something nice for yourself. I'm so sorry." Tenny looked at him, her cheeks still sore, and against every instinct in her body, she forgave him. It was just one time, she told herself. He was stressed. It won't happen again. But it did happen again, and again, and again. By month 7 of the marriage, Tenny finally got the news she'd been praying for. She was pregnant. She cried tears of joy when she saw the 2 lines on the test. Finally, finally, things will change. He'll be happy. He'll stop hitting me. We'll be a family. When she told Paul, he smiled. The first real smile she'd seen in weeks. "Really? We're having a baby?" "Yes," Tenny said, a voice full of hope. "We're going to be parents." Paul hugged her. For a moment, Tenny felt like everything would be okay. But the peace didn't last long. A few weeks into the pregnancy, morning sickness hit Tenny like a truck. She was nauseous all the time, exhausted, weak. But Paul didn't care. "Why is the house dirty?" he'd ask when he came home. "Paul, I'm pregnant. I've been vomiting all day." "So, you think pregnancy is an excuse to be lazy?" "I'm not lazy. I'm just tired. My mother was pregnant 4 times, and she never complained." "Stop being dramatic." Tenny would drag herself out of bed at 4 a.m. to clean. She'd cook even when the smell of food made her want to vomit. She'd push through the exhaustion because Paul demanded it. One evening, she was too weak to go to the market. She couldn't cook a fresh meal, so she served Paul the leftover food from the morning. Paul took one bite, then he spat it out. "What is this nonsense?" he shouted. It's the same food from this morning. I'm sorry I couldn't go to the market. I was too tired. You know I don't eat stale food." Paul's face was red with rage. "You know my system is allergic to poverty food." "Paul, please. I'm pregnant. I'm doing my best." "Your best is not good enough." He grabbed the plate and smashed it against the wall. Tenny flinched as pieces of ceramic shattered everywhere. "Paul, please calm down." But he didn't calm down. He grabbed her by the arm and slapped her hard. Tenny stumbled backward, hitting the edge of the dining table. But Paul wasn't done. He descended on her, slapping, punching, shouting, "Useless, lazy, worthless." Tenny tried to protect her stomach, tried to shield herself, but the blows kept coming. Finally, Paul stormed out of the house, leaving Tenny battered and bruised on the floor. She lay there sobbing, her body in agony, and then she felt it, a sharp stabbing pain in her abdomen. "No, no, 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 please God, no." The pain got worse. Then came the blood. Tenny screamed. The gateman heard her screams and rushed in. He found her on the floor, bleeding, barely conscious. He called an ambulance. By the time they got to the hospital, it was too late. The doctor came out with a grim expression. "I'm sorry, we couldn't save the baby." Tenny stared at the ceiling, numb. Her baby was gone because of Paul. And all she could think was, "What have I done? What kind of life have I chosen?" Tenny stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Paul didn't visit once. When she was discharged, she went home to find Paul sitting in the living room like nothing had happened. "You're back," he said casually. "Good. I'm hungry. Make me food." Tenny stared at him, her heart filled with a hatred she'd never felt before. "This man just killed my baby, and he's asking me to cook." But she said nothing. She went to the kitchen and cooked because she was too broken to fight. Weeks passed. Tenny moved through life like a ghost, cooking, cleaning, obeying. The beatings continued. At the slightest provocation, or no provocation at all, Paul would attack her. One night, he woke her up at 2 a.m. "You were snoring too loud," he said, and he beat her in the middle of the night. Tenny stopped posting on social media. She stopped smiling. She stopped living. She was just existing. One afternoon, while Tenny was giving food to the gateman, an older man in his 50s named Mr. Johnson, he called her aside. "Madam, please, I need to tell you something very dark. Please take this with seriousness." Tenny looked at him confused. "What is it?" Mr. Johnson glanced around nervously, then lowered his voice. "This is your marriage. I'm not telling you to leave your husband, but there are some things you need to know about him." Tenny's heart began to race. "You're not his first wife," Mr. Johnson said quietly. Tenny froze. "What?" "There was a girl before you, a very beautiful girl. Her name was Sandra. She died in this house less than a year before you married him." Tenny felt the ground shift beneath her feet. She died? How?" Mr. Johnson pointed to the balcony on the second floor. "She was pushed from that balcony, right there. She fell down and died right on that spot, on that floor." Tenny's blood ran cold. "The same pattern that is happening with you now was the same pattern with her. He beat her. He abused her. They were always fighting, but she didn't leave. And eventually she died." Tenny's hands were shaking. And what happened after?" "His mother used her connections to cover everything up, the police, everyone. They even threatened me that I should keep quiet, that I didn't see anything. So I kept quiet. I didn't see anything. After all, if I talked, they would destroy me and my family." Mr. Johnson looked at her with sad, desperate eyes. "But my daughter, my conscience will not let me rest if I allow the same thing that happened to Sandra happen to you again. I'm telling you this information for you to make a wise decision for yourself." He paused. "You are not the first wife. A wife has died. You are not the first girlfriend who has been beaten to a pulp. You will not be the last. A word is enough for the wise." And with that, Mr. Johnson walked away, leaving Tenny standing there, her entire world crumbling. That night, Tenny couldn't sleep. Sandra. There was another woman, and she died. And his mother covered it up. "He didn't tell me he was married before. What else is he hiding?" The next day, when Paul went to work, Tenny made a decision. She hired a private investigator, a man who also worked in the police force. She paid him everything she had saved. "I need you to find out everything about my husband. Everything." 2 weeks later, the investigator came back with a thick file. Tenny sat in a hotel room and opened it. What she saw made her stomach turn. There were police reports, hospital records, testimonies from women Paul had dated in the past. All of them had been abused. All of them had been beaten. And every single time, Paul's mother had swooped in with her connections and covered it up. The women were painted as liars, drug addicts, mentally unstable, aggressive. It was always the woman's fault, never Paul's. Then Tenny saw the pictures of Sandra wedding photos, Instagram posts, pictures of her smiling, happy, in love. And then the final picture. Sandra's body, mangled, broken, beyond recognition, the police report said. Suicide due to clinical depression. But Tenny knew the truth. He killed her, and his mother helped him get away with it. Tears streamed down Tenny's face as she stared at the file. This could be me. I could be next. Tenny couldn't keep quiet anymore. That evening, after dinner, she looked at Paul and asked, "Who is Sandra?" Paul froze. His fork stopped midway to his mouth. "Which Sandra?" Tenny's voice was steady now. She was done being afraid. "You know who I'm talking about. Your ex-wife. Why didn't you tell me about her?" Paul's face darkened. "How dare you bring up that name? Who told you about her?" "That's not answering my question," Tenny said, her voice rising. "You're not answering my question. Who is Sandra? Why did you not tell me about her? What happened to her? Why did you keep it a secret from me?" The more she asked, the angrier Paul became. His hands clenched into fists. His jaw tightened. "I told you to keep quiet. Keep quiet before I do something to you that we'll both regret. Before I send you to your early grave. Before I kill you like..." He stopped, but it was too late. Tenny's eyes widened. "So you killed her? You killed her and said she had clinical depression, that she committed suicide?" Paul's eyes went wild. He lunged at her, his hands wrapped around her throat, squeezing, choking. Tenny couldn't breathe. She clawed at his hands, kicking, struggling. "He's going to kill me. He's really going to kill me." With a burst of adrenaline, she grabbed a vase from the side table and smashed it against his head. Paul stumbled backward, blood trickling down his forehead. Tenny ran. She ran to the front gate, but it was locked. She looked around frantically and saw the ladder, the one the servicemen used to fix the lights on the fence. Without thinking, she climbed it, barefoot, in her pajamas. Like a mad woman, she jumped over the fence and landed hard on the other side. Pain shot through her ankle, but she didn't stop. She ran. Behind her, she heard Paul shouting, "I will kill you today. I will kill you." She saw a taxi and jumped in, screaming, "Go, go, please go." The driver, confused but alarmed, stepped on the gas, and Tenny escaped. The first place Tenny ran to was Sonia's house. She didn't even think about it. Her body just went there. It was close to midnight when she knocked on the door. No, she didn't knock. She banged on it like the police were after her, which, in a way, they might be soon. Sonia's husband opened the door, rubbing his eyes. "Who is..." Then he saw her, barefoot, pajamas torn, face swollen, blood on her clothes, hair looking like she'd fought a hurricane and lost Jesus Christ. He exclaimed, stepping back. Sonia appeared behind him, carrying their newborn baby. When she saw Tenny, her mouth fell open. "Tenny, what happened to you?" Tenny collapsed right there in the doorway, just folded like a cheap umbrella in Lagos rain. "My husband, he's after me. He's going to kill me. Please, please help me." Sonia handed the baby to her husband and rushed to help Tenny inside. They sat her down, gave her water, and Tenny told them everything. Everything. The beatings, the lost pregnancy, the dead wife named Sandra, the escape, Paul chasing her with a knife like something from a Nollywood horror movie. Sonia's husband listened with his mouth hanging open. At some point, he whispered, "This man is not normal. This one a psychiatric case." Sonia just held Tenny's hand, her heart breaking. "I'm so sorry," Sonia whispered. "I didn't know you were going through all this. I thought you were living your best life." Tenny laughed, but it was the kind of laugh that sounded like crying. "Social media is a lie, Sonia. A big fat lie. I was living in bondage, in a golden cage, but it was still a cage. Sonia wiped her own tears. You can't sleep here, Tenny. Tenny's face fell. What? Why? This house is already full, Sonia explained gently. I just had a baby. My mom and my mother-in-law are around. They sleep in the living room. Baby and I sleep in one room. My husband sleeps in the other. This is just a two-bedroom apartment. There's no space. Tenny looked around. It was true. The small apartment was packed. Baby clothes hanging everywhere. Two elderly women asleep on mats in the living room. The place smelled like baby powder and jollof rice. It was small. It was cramped. But it looked like home. Like peace. Sonia reached into her purse and pulled out money. Go to a hotel. Go and sleep there. It will even be safer for you. Tomorrow, we'll figure out what to do. Go to the police. Report him. Tenny shook her head frantically. I can't go to the police. His mother has connections everywhere. They'll call me a mad woman. Then what are you going to do? Sonia asked. Tenny had no answer. Sonia pressed the money into her hand. Go to a hotel first. Rest. We'll think of something tomorrow. Tenny took the money, her hands shaking. Thank you, Sonia. Even after everything I did to you. Thank you. Sonia just nodded. Tenny left and checked into a cheap hotel in Ikeja. But that night, her phone didn't stop ringing. Paul. Threatening messages. Voice notes of him screaming. If you don't come back home, I will kill you and your entire family. You think you can run from me? I will find you. Come back home now, or I will burn down your parents' house. Tenny turned off her phone and cried into the pillow until she had no more tears left. The next morning, Paul made good on his threats. He went to Tenny's parents' house with men dressed as policemen. They broke down the door, shattered the windows, turned the house upside down. Where is your daughter? Paul roared at Tenny's father, a gentleman in his 60s who sold spare parts for a living. I don't know. She hasn't contacted us. Her father stammered, terrified. You're lying. One of the fake policemen grabbed Tenny's mother by the arm. If your daughter doesn't come back, we will kill all of you. We will burn this house down. We will destroy your family. Tenny's mother, a small woman who sold vegetables at Oshodi Market, trembled with fear. Please, please, we don't know where she is. Please don't hurt us. They terrorized the family for hours before finally leaving. That evening, Tenny's mother called her, sobbing. Tenny, my daughter, this man is not normal. This one is a demon in human form. We have to run. If we stay here, he will kill us. Tenny felt like the world was ending. Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I brought this upon our family. There's no time for sorry, her mother said. Pack whatever you can. We're leaving Lagos tonight. That night, Tenny's entire family, her father, mother, two younger brothers, packed their lives into Ghana must go bags. They closed down her father's shop, abandoned their house, left everything behind, and they ran. They went to Port Harcourt, to her mother's family village, a place so remote, even Google Maps would get confused trying to find it. They lived like refugees, like fugitives, sleeping in her uncle's small house, sharing one room, eating whatever they could afford. Tenny cried every day. Mama, I was not even supposed to marry that man in the first place, she sobbed one night. Mama, I snatched him from my best friend. I thought I was being smart. I thought he was my knight in shining armor. I didn't know he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Mama, he's a murderer, and his mother condones him. His mother covers for him. Mama, what do I do? I have ruined my life. I have ruined our family. Her mother held her, rocking her like a child. My daughter, as long as you are alive, there is hope. Let us pray that God delivers us from this calamity that has befallen us. For 6 months, they lived in hiding, always looking over their shoulders, never going out at night, always scared that one day Paul would appear at the door. Then, on a random Tuesday afternoon in the 7th month, Tenny's uncle called everyone to the living room. Come and see, quick! They all rushed to the small TV. On the screen was breaking news. The headline read, "Wealthy Lagos businessman arrested for murder." And there was Paul's face. Tenny's heart stopped. The news anchor's voice was calm but chilling. Paul Okafor, 35, has been arrested and remanded in custody after allegedly stabbing his mother, Mrs. Grace Okafor, multiple times in their Lekki home. Neighbors reported hearing screams yesterday evening. By the time police arrived, Mrs. Okafor was pronounced dead at the scene. Mr. Okafor has been charged with murder. The screen showed footage of Paul being led away in handcuffs, his face blank, emotionless. Tenny's mother gasped. He killed his own mother? The news continued. Further investigations have revealed a disturbing pattern of violence. Paul Okafor has been linked to multiple cases of domestic abuse, including the death of his first wife, Sandra S., whose death in 2023 was initially ruled a suicide. New evidence suggests foul play. Several former domestic workers have also come forward with testimonies of assault. Medical reports confirm that Mr. Okafor suffers from untreated bipolar disorder, which his late mother allegedly covered up for years, using her connections in the police force. Tenny sat frozen, staring at the TV. Her uncle whispered, "This boy is mad, certified mad." The reporter continued, "Mr. Okafor has been sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole." Tenny burst into tears, not because she felt sorry for Paul, but because she was free. "Mama," she sobbed, clutching her mother. "Mama, that could have been me. Mama, that could have been me if I hadn't run. If I had stayed one more week. Mama, I would be dead." Her mother held her tight. "But you're alive, my daughter. You're alive. God saved you." Tenny cried for hours that day. Cried for Sandra, the woman who didn't escape. Cried for the baby she lost. Cried for all the months she wasted living in fear. But most of all, she cried tears of relief. A week later, the police called Tenny. They wanted her statement. Tenny traveled back to Lagos with her father. She walked into the police station with her head held high. She told them everything. Everything. The beatings, the threats, the pregnancy she lost, the way Paul had chased her with a knife. Mr. Johnson, the gate man, also came forward. He confessed everything he'd seen. How Paul had killed Sandra, how the mother had covered it up, how he'd been threatened into silence. The police thanked them both for their bravery. Then came the final blow. Mrs. Okafor, or rather Miss Tenny, the officer said carefully, "We need to inform you of something." Tenny looked up. "What?" "According to our investigation, you were never legally married to Paul Okafor." Tenny blinked. "What do you mean?" "His first wife, Sandra Eze, is still listed as his legal wife in all official records. Your marriage was never registered. Technically, you were just living with him." Tenny felt like she'd been slapped. So I'm not his wife?" "No, You have no legal claim to any of his assets or properties. Everything will be confiscated by the government and distributed to his extended family members. Tenny sat there, stunned. I gave up everything. I lost my friend. I lost my dignity. I almost lost my life. And I was never even his wife. The officer continued. You are allowed to take your personal belongings, clothes, items you brought into the house, but nothing else. 2 days later, Tenny went back to the mansion one last time. It felt like walking into a graveyard. She packed her clothes, a few shoes, some jewelry Paul had bought her. That was it. Everything else, the mansion, the cars, the furniture, the luxury, none of it was hers. She walked out of that house with 2 suitcases, the same way she'd walked in. Tenny moved back to Lagos, but not to the island. She got a small one-bedroom apartment in Surulere, mainland far from the glitz and glamour. She started over, got a job at a small company. Nothing fancy, just enough to pay her bills. People talked. Oh, they talked. You see that Tenny? The one that was posting designer bags on Instagram. I heard her husband is in prison. She was forming rich wife. Now she's back to suffering. Now pride dey worry some people. She don't born. She don't get house. She don't get nothing. Some people laughed at her. Some people pitied her. But Tenny didn't care anymore because she was alive. And that was all that mattered. 3 years later, Sonia was at a small restaurant in Ikeja, meeting with a client. Her business had grown. She now ran her own skincare line, and it was doing well. Not rich, but comfortable, peaceful. Her husband was supportive. They had 2 kids now. They still lived in a modest apartment, but it was filled with laughter and love. As Sonia was wrapping up her meeting, someone walked into the restaurant. Sonia looked up and saw Tenny. Tenny had gained a little weight, the good kind. Her face looked lighter, like a burden had been lifted. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Tenny walked over. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Tenny. Awkward silence. Then Tenny sat down. Can we talk? Sonia nodded. Tenny took a deep breath. I just want to say, I'm sorry for everything, for betraying you, for choosing money over friendship, for being greedy and foolish. Sonia listened quietly. I lost everything, Sonia. I lost my dignity, my peace, almost lost my life. And for what? For a man who didn't even love me, for a lifestyle that was built on lies. Tenny's voice cracked. You were right all along. You saw the signs. You tried to warn me, but I didn't listen. I thought I was smarter. I thought I could handle it. She wiped her eyes. I'm not asking you to be my friend again. I know I broke that trust, but I needed you to know that I'm sorry and that you made the right choice. You chose peace and I chose gold, and gold almost killed me. Sonia reached across the table and squeezed Tenny's hand. I forgive you, Tenny. I forgave you a long time ago. Tenny cried. They talked for hours that day, not like best friends, but like 2 women who'd survived their own battles and come out wiser. As Sonia drove home that evening, she looked at the modest car she'd bought with her own money, the small apartment she shared with her family, the simple life she'd built, and she smiled because she'd learned the most important lesson of all. Not everything that glitters is gold. And sometimes the richest life is the one filled with peace. Thank you for watching this story, besties. What do you think about this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And until I bring another intriguing story your way again, bye for now.